Ladies and gentlemen and graphic designers, we're going to learn about the principles of graphic design, and specifically we're going to make a t-shirt logo. All right, so what are we going to do? So the goal of this project and the learning is that you guys are going to create a t-shirt logo. So you can see examples of students who've created logos in the past. So we're going to design a custom logo using Adobe Illustrator or Inkscape. We're going to put it onto an iron-on transfer. I don't know how that picture got on there. And we're going to put it on your web portfolio. So we are going to make a t-shirt logo. All right. So what is graphic design is the topic of our first thing. So as you're watching the spiel, make sure whenever you see red text, that means to stop and take notes, either paper notes or Google Doc notes. We're going to do both paper and a Google Doc note for this, two separate assignments. When you see green text, that means do what it says. And if you see black text, simply read it and learn it. All right. So what are the principles of graphic design? What is graphic design? We're going to learn a few of these things. All right. So make sure that you get out a piece of paper and a pen or pencil or whatever your writing utensil is, and at the top of your notes, write the principles of graphic design / logo notes. And then at the same time, I want you to open up a Google Doc and save it as the principles of graphic design logo notes. So we're going to have a set of paper notes, and we're going to have a set of Google Doc notes. All right. What is graphic design? It's the art or profession of using design elements such as typography, letters, images to convey information, create an effect, also a product of this art. So the idea is that a logo does two main things. It conveys information and it creates an effect. What does that mean? Well, like if you look at the McDonald's logo, well, it's supposed to convey that this store is McDonald's, and the effect is that it's like, oh, I recognize it. I know that they have cheap food that's kind of tasty, and I want to go there. So you want to do both things. All right. What is a logo? Write this down in your notes. A logo is a unique graphic mark or emblem commonly used by commercial enterprises, organizations, or even individuals to aid and promote instant public recognition. So when you see a logo, the idea is the company wants you to recognize who they are. A logo should be unique, functional, and versatile. It should be even more than that, but we're going to talk more about that as well. Make sure you write this stuff in red in your paper notes. All right, let's take a look at some examples of logos. So this guy here has some. Let's see what they got. So there's lots of examples of good logos. Let's see what we can see here. Okay. Let's see these logos. Okay, so this one's Iron Duck. So they have clothing, obviously, and so your hanger's made out of steel or iron, right? So Iron Duck. So it conveys a message. It's unique. You would recognize it if you saw that again. Okay, Databerry. So if you look at it, it has this little symbol here that looks kind of like a little berry. So it has that idea. So this is Shoot My Dog, which is a catchy name, and then the old school camera looks like a dog, and kind of interesting. So movers, so you know that these guys help you move your house. So moving company. So the guitar studio, the S, you can see the guitar in there. So here's just some ideas of some good logos. So this one, you have the tree, and then inside they have the image of the cross in there because it's for a church. So negative space is interesting. So if you look, these are T's, right, for golf, but inside the T is hidden this little rocket, so that's kind of cool. So that's called using negative space. This is an interesting way to do it. So rain, wine, they actually have an animated version, and so on and so forth. So there's some examples of interesting logos. Okay, so what makes a good logo? So there's some principles that we can follow, and so rules are made to be broken, but oftentimes if you follow these principles, it will make your logo better. So write this down. So a logo should be simple. It's not like a painting. It's not a ton of intricate lines. Logos are typically very simple. One of the main things is that they're memorable and unique. When you know it when you see it. Okay, you don't confuse it with another logo. So when you see the McDonald's logo, you pretty much know what it is. You don't confuse it with other things. So timeless is one that's nice to have. If you're able to use the same logo for many, many years, that's really good with name recognition, and that's kind of a bonus. It needs to be versatile, which means it'll look good really small on a postage stamp. It'll look really good huge on a billboard. It'll look good in a glossy magazine. It'll look really good on a t-shirt in one color, or look good on a t-shirt with 5 colors. So you should be able to put it on all those things and have it look good. It needs to be appropriate. Okay, so when we're talking about appropriate, that doesn't mean it's not nasty. What that means is it matches the audience. It matches the message you're trying to get across. Does it communicate the right message? When you look at it, does it communicate the idea or feeling you need it to? Okay, so these are things that a logo should do. Write that down in your paper notes. So here's an example of simple. This is the subway in England. It's very simple. All it is 2 shapes and some letters, but it makes it easy to recognize. Okay, unique and memorable. So the weird shape of the M and the bright colors makes this very memorable. You always know it when you see it. Okay, so here's an example of not being timeless. So these are the Pepsi logos over the years, and it's totally different now. If you look at the Coca-Cola logo, it's been the same for 100 years plus, right? So does that mean the Pepsi logo is bad? Not necessarily, but it's just nice that, like, if you saw this, like some old stuff from Pepsi, you wouldn't even recognize it as Pepsi at first unless you read it. But the Coca-Cola stuff, it's timeless. Will it work in one color, printed on something the size of a postage stamp? Okay, so if you look at Volcom, if they needed to do something in just black and white, it looks good. If they needed to do something in multiple colors, it looks good. If they needed to do, so anyway, it looks good in a variety of ways. All right, so this is an appropriate font for a Toys R Us. Now, is this an appropriate font for a lawyer's office? No. So again, appropriate in the case of logos isn't talking about is it nasty or not. It's saying does it say the right message? Does it communicate the right message that you're after? All right. So what is the message? So if you look at Amazon, they deliver everything from A to Z. Okay, so if you look at Red Bull, so the red is the color of power and blood, and if you look at the bulls, they look really energetic and powerful, so it's communicating that message. So if you look at the Acura symbol, so this A looks an awful lot like a pair of calipers. Calipers are something that engineers use to make precise measurements. So the idea of accurate is it's accurate, it's precision. Here's other ones. So body wisdom, so you have an owl, which represents wisdom, and hands. Fork wire, that's obvious. The Big Ten, it was kind of funny, I put this in there because it used to have 10 teams and then it went to 11, so they snuck the 11 in there with white space. Piano forest, so you can see there's the piano keys, there's the forest. So here, I like this one, northwest, so you have your N, then you have your W in there, and you have this arrow, guess which direction it's pointing? Northwest. All right. Kerplunk. What I want you guys to do now is open your Google Doc notes, and I want you to find 6 logos, and I want you to label simple, and then put the logo that's simple, and then answer it. How is this simple? Memorable. Put the picture, and then answer it. How is it memorable? Okay, so make sure to label and answer all the questions, okay? And so when we're done, we're not done with this yet. We're going to go on to part 2 next, okay? So when we go on to part 2, we're going to keep going. But anyway, so finish that up, and eventually we are going to turn these in. All right, that's it for part 1. Go to the next video for part 2.